You know what I mean? Like, that's really what's that? Yeah.
That's right.
I think it's.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm fixed in at 112. Hey, Brian. Good, how are you?
And then, so about plus I couldn't that is like I never would have something anywhere. Yeah. Hey, you guys already here, but we don't want to see that.
But all things, the potential crazy stuff
No.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
She was there too.
I'm good. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Hello, folks. I'm the two weeks. Yeah.
And then Do my part, the treasurer. Yes, we introduced to, absolutely. Well, then.
Sometimes I take notes, but
Just to, next to the provost, just to be easier, you know. Yeah, I'm still one. I hope we're getting there. You know, he's exposed spring and I was like, I think you're long enough. Back up and say, hey. Which I've done this long enough for us. Good afternoon. I can ask all the senators to please take their seats and our invited guests. I'd like to welcome all of our staff senators, invited guests, and those who are tuning in virtually. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 3 o'clock. Secretary Taylor, if you completed your roll call. Thank you. And Parliamentarian McCormick, do we have a quorum present?
Yes.
Thank you. Awesome. Jessica Mackey sent out the minutes from our last month's meeting, which was February. All senators should have received those. Are there any additions or revisions from our last month's meeting? One meeting. Is there a motion to approve February's minutes? All right, Senator Morgan, thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Senator Brown. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes stand approved. Normally we get our grounding with our staff senate purpose and reminders, and I thought I'd change things up a little bit since it is spring break. Yay! At least there's ample parking. And with this, I thought we'd have a grounding quote with the president's message to us last time. We had a discussion at the end a little bit about progress and what we are doing as senators, and I found it very telling as it popped up in my social media feed. Progress is not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet resilience. And I think that's what, as we embedded in our 5th year of Staff Senate, that we're being resilient, we're being communicative, and we're making progress. And I hope we all continue to remember that. Per our Staff Senate bylaws, only staff senators and invited guest speakers are allowed to speak during our general body meetings. And if a staff senator wishes to speak, they are reminded to be recognized, provide their name and their unit and division, just so everyone knows with whom you represent. I'm going to continue on with our officer reports, then our guest speakers, committee reports, order of business, and the good of the order. For my report, going to share some information, opportunities, and celebrations with you. And remember, all these will be in the follow-up email that I send for you in part and your constituents for those that apply. Campus leadership news, as we mentioned last time, Carolyn Agardy, our Vice President for Human Resources and ex officio Staff Senate member, has announced her retirement. Applications are open right now for internal candidates until March the 30th. School of Medicine Columbia Dean Search update. Candidate virtual interviews are happening the week of March 16th, and then they have tentative on-campus finalist interviews following weeks, just to keep you abreast. And you may have noticed this in USC today. There's an Associate Vice President and Vice Provost for Global Affairs. Applications are due April 3rd with on-campus interviews the weeks of April 20th and 27th, just so we can keep staff alerted.
They extended the posting for the Vice President for Human Resources and Organizational Excellence to the 30th and opened it up to the outside.
Oh, it opened it to the outside. Thank you. Oh, no. That's all good. So they're accepting external candidates as well. Awesome. So if anyone knows anyone who is interested, please let them know. They have big shoes to fill. The Modern Think Employee Insight Survey, I've mentioned this, that I'm your representative on the Presidential Commission that is looking at the direction of using this data and top initiatives for the university. We sent our key institutional priorities to the president, who has read them, and the commission is meeting again at the end of March for next steps. So my goal is hopefully to have something for you all that you can see and know about these key initiatives as well. I continue to represent you all. I went to the Board of Trustees meeting February 20th, just so they could all see my face. And again, remember, Staff Senate is here. Staff Senate representation, the staff senator representing USC School of Medicine Greenville, due to personal reasons, had to resign. Due to the proximity of Staff Senate elections, which we're going to hear about from our membership committee, a replacement will not be appointed. The new senator will just take that role. Staff Senate orientation for 26-27 term. We are working to secure a venue and a date for that. A save the date will be coming soon for those of you who are continuing on into the next iteration of Staff Senate for 26-27. We're also working as an executive committee to establish and memorialize Staff Senate policies on how we conduct business and do certain procedures. The first one of that will be introduced to you today by Treasurer Tuck. So just know that this is happening and coming about, just so, for example, committees know how to request things from the budget, things of that nature. So as staff iterations continue on, these will already be in place. HR has a new employee orientation working committee. There are 2 Staff Senate representatives on this committee who are looking at onboarding and new employee orientation. Pam Lawson representing our PD committee, and Cami Reid representing the executive committee. So we're excited about that and look forward to them reporting back to us with their insight. This is exciting news that I learned. Canva software in mid to late March. All of us will have access to Canva, supported by the Division of Marketing. Thank you, Division of Marketing. Access will be available through your institutional account. There will be training and resources, as well as temples and brand guidelines. So if you were like many on my team in the College of Ed who live by Canva, this is going to allow, when I hear them all the time that their free space is eaten up and they can't do anymore, this is going to allow individuals to be able to work with that. So this is going to be good news. Reporting telecommuting hours is transitioning for those who telecommute or have those times where they must. It's going to go from the Excel spreadsheets that HR coordinators are working with to PeopleSoft Time and Labor. There are some trainings that are happening now, one today and one tomorrow for time and labor approvers. I think we'll be getting more information about that, so stay tuned. And our upcoming Staff Senate General Body speakers for April will be the Staff Senate Appreciation Recognition Committee, as May will be Staff Appreciation Day. So we're excited to hear from them. Some opportunities, and all of these, if you don't want to do the QR code, the link will be coming out by follow-up email. Give for Garnet celebration at USC will be Wednesday, March 25th. in front of the Russell House Student Union. We will have the opportunity to table there so individuals who come to celebrate can learn more about Staff Senate and what we do. And so I'll be asking for volunteers who will be willing to manage the table in 1 hour shifts. It's just from 11:30 to 2:30. So please think about that if you might be interested. Similar to what we do at the benefits fair, just letting everybody know who we are and what we do in representing staff on this campus. The Golden Spur Restaurant, if you're familiar with the Golden Spur down near the Colonial Life Arena, is offering lunch specials for all faculty and staff this week. I found this out this morning. The deals are $9.99 and vary daily, so I'll send this out. So if anyone has a hankering for lunch Wednesday through Friday, you can go get a $9.99 special and make spring break a little more palatable for us who are here. AI Day at USC will be happening too. You probably saw information about this on March 19th from 8:30 to 3:30, free to all staff, faculty, and students. I'll have the registration link if this is something that you're interested in following many of our conversations we've heard about AI. And then USC Night at the Fireflies is Thursday, April the 23rd. Gates open at 6, first pitch at 7. This is a wonderful thing for you and your constituents to know about. If someone from USC decides they want to go, they get a free hat, but not necessarily the USC hat, which will be available for purchase. They're doing a double branding celebration there. So another opportunity for you and your constituents. Continuing with our discussion of the Heart Walk for the Midlands, there is a team, Senators with Heart. And so if you are interested in joining them, I have a flyer up here in the front, as well as one for the Fireflies game that you can take, but I'll be sending this information out to you. We encourage you to join them if you can walk, or if you're not going to be able to, that's an admitted students day. So I'll be here trying to recruit more students to come to campus, but you can also donate a little bit would help. So please think about that if that's a way you would like to serve. And then spread the word. I sent this in an email to all staff senators yesterday, I do believe, that the Staff Excellence Award nominations are open. And this was created first by our staff Senate body and then taken over by HR and expanded with monetary support from the president, which we appreciate, which honors staff and staff only. And so I encourage you to think of staff members in your areas who might be working above and beyond to be recognized, but also encourage you to be open to help anyone who may want to recognize someone who may not have the technological capability to use the link and so forth. So please be open to both if someone contacts you, but also spread the word, because this is really, really amazing. And the nominations are open through April 5th. And these individuals will be recognized right before Staff Appreciation Day in May. So we're really excited about that. Staff Senator shout outs, as I always like to do, shouting out those individuals who are doing amazing things. We have two different shout outs this time. First is Anthony Brown, who's leading work to establish a campus-wide policy to ensure there are automatic external defibrillators across our campus. He had a great meeting yesterday that I got ill and could not attend, but I'm glad I've already seen the recap of really working to make sure that there are these AEDs in every building and that they are working and running smoothly. So he's becoming a champion for all of us for something we hope we don't ever need, but when we do, or if we do, then we want to make sure that they are operable. So more updates to come from that. So thank you, Anthony. And then also a shout out to the newly elected 26-27 executive committee officers. Our president, of course, moving up from vice president will be Cami Reid. Our vice president will be Katie Annan. Our secretary, Emily Miles. Our treasurer, Amanda Tuck. Our parliamentarian, Stephanie Richards. And then I will move to past president. So congratulations to all those individuals who will be leading. Don't forget, we have our appreciation station. You can use the HR link, but also I've got those cards there if you want to write a handout to a staff member and let you know they appreciate them, or even our faculty colleagues. Please do so because everyone likes a handwritten note. As we continue, that we want to connect, empower, and lead, which is our theme this year. Next up, I'm going to ask Amanda Tuck to give a quick treasurer's report.
Hello, everybody.
All right, so I have notes today. I'm not going to say any new business. It's very exciting. So we did have a change in our accounts. It is going to be in our in fund. So we did spend $802.50. That is on the DJ for Appreciation Day. That is down from $963 last year for the DJ because we moved down from 3 hours to 2.5 hours. So thank you, Appreciation Day Committee, because you made that cell turn green. We're under budget. Yay. So that's what's going on in our accounts. We are going to have a lot of stuff coming in for Appreciation Day. Be aware our biggest expense is going to be food. Our first quote that we had laughed at us, and our second quote stole our lunch money. So we're working to figure it out. Thank you, Appreciation Committee. You guys are great. So that's what's happening there. We have some other fun things happening in Treasurer World. So we did our Anaplan submission. I think it got approved. So just as a reminder, Anaplan informs our finance intranet, and that loads our budget in there. And we wanted to make sure that what was in finance intranet was closer to how we were projecting our trends. So all of that should be in and good. We did our policy for requesting funds, which we mentioned last go round. We'll get into it a little bit more today. And we also now have a form for requesting funds, and it has a beautiful QR code. And if the QR code doesn't work, I might cry. So
I'll have the link for you in the follow-up email as well.
yes. So, all righty. Also, thank you to Jessica, because we have a section in the Teams channel now that is for policies. So our funding policy is going to be located there. There's also a link, hyperlinked in the policy to the form for requesting funds. So just as a reminder, there's two main pathways whenever we're requesting funds, and they're dependent on whether or not there is an exec meeting. So if there is an exec meeting between now and when you need your funds, you're going to follow the regular path. If there is not an exec meeting, we're going to go into the emergency path. So for the regular process, it's mainly just filling out the form. I'm going to prepare an impacts report that I present to the exec. If the chair wants to go to that next exec meeting, they're more than welcome. Just let the treasurer know. And then exec votes with a simple majority. That's because we get to talk about it. So we figured a simple majority was good enough. If there is not a exec meeting before whenever you need the funds, fill out the form, call the treasurer or email the treasurer, depending on, I mean, well, I know you didn't have a choice. Thank you for voting for me for treasurer. But I'm a phone call person. Call me first. If you can't get me phone call, then email me. And then the treasurer is going to initiate an emergency electronic vote. That is going to require a 2/3 majority, since we did not get the chance to sit down and talk about it. And then depending on whether or not that passes, it either will restart if the vote does not pass, it restarts the whole system. Or if it does pass in an emergency situation, then I prepare the impacts report, and then we have the result of the vote and the impacts report to the notes. It's going to be in the notes for the exec. So, questions?
Yes. It may be helpful to remind people that the executive committee meets the same time on Tuesdays as our general body meetings, 1 week prior. So when you're looking at which option to do, that's a nice reminder, or you can ask us.
Yes. That is also in the policy. Anybody else? Questions, comments, concerns, complaints? I will take jokes after this meeting.
Also, thank you very much. And again, just one illustration of the policies we're trying to memorialize in place so everything runs a little smoother and everyone has transparency on how all of this operates as you work within your committees. It is now my pleasure to welcome for the first time in this role, someone who many of you already know. I attended an event representing you all a couple of weeks ago, and she spoke, and the person there read off her biography, which literally took about 5 minutes, which to me just lets you know how distinguished this individual is and why they are a good fit for this role. I'm going to let you can look that up online, but it is my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Marian Fitzpatrick, Vice President for Academic Affairs and our Provost.
So I wrote a talk, and then somebody came into my office, and, you know, there was somebody important, and the president came into my office and asked me about a bunch of things. And so I printed it off and I left it on the printer. So it's extemporaneous. Hold on to your hats here. As Chris has said, thank you, Chris, actually, as Chris has said, I've been here since January 1st, 2005. And what that actually means is it's very hard for me to regale you with rhetoric about exactly how I've dealt with staff over the 20-some years I've been here. Because you all know how I've dealt, or you're one conversation away from finding out if it's true or it's not true, whatever I say here. But there are a few things I'd like to say. And that is, in my entire career, both at the University of Wisconsin-Madison and here, I have always depended on staff. I have always depended on their insights and their wisdom and what they know about the organization and what they know about their areas of expertise. This has always been very important to me. Now, I'm really hard to deal with because you say, well, we have to do this for this reason. We have to do this. And I say, well, why do we have to do this? Explain the rule to me. And so I'm kind of hard in that way, but I want to understand so I can talk to someone else. I want to understand. So one of the first things that happened to me when I came here, and a lot of you are very young, you know, remember and terrible scandals. But we had a president who was fast and loose with money, among other things. And so I came here many years after he had been no longer our president. I think he went to jail too. So anyway, no longer our president. And there would be a rule. So I called the Provost office and I'd say, why do we have this rule? I don't understand this rule. So there'd be some explanation from some vice provost like these people over there, some explanation. I'd say, no, it doesn't. Why do we have this rule? And finally they'd say, it's Haldeman rule. We just put it in place because he did something outrageous, so we had to plug that hole. And I'm like, okay, I understand. I don't like it, but I understand why you have the Haldeman rule. But one of the things for all of us to keep in mind, this is very different than a corporation. And I know you feel as if it is a corporation, but many of you are here because you're dedicated to the kind of academic enterprise, the educational enterprise, helping kids as they go forward. And basically, this is a learning organization where we're all trying to figure out, we're all trying to improve, we're all trying to, that's the best metaphor for what this organization is. But what that means is you have to have a certain amount of transparency, you have to really be able to deal with people, and we all have to figure out how to work together across all these different domains. Now, I'm the executive vice president of Provost, and I am the executive vice president because, not to put too fine a point on it, although I always do at the cabinet, but we are the revenue generating operation. All of our salaries depend on the research and really, you'd be surprised how few people at the cabinet kind of remember that. All right, we're the revenue generator. And the work that you have done and the work that we have done here is really amazing. We had over, I think, 65,000 applications, 65,000 applications for at most 8,000 freshman places. And nobody will tell anybody how many transfers we have, because that's like too much. Too much to even consider. Where are we going to put them? What are we going to do? So the stress that you're experiencing and the problems that you brought out, even in the climate survey, the parking, all these other kinds of things, are because of our success. It's almost a deadly virtue. Okay. So my office, we deal with faculty. We deal with everything, actually. We're in charge of the budgets. We're in charge of allocating searches. We're in charge of managing deans and academic departments. I have my own structure, obviously, of people helping to think about how do we retain students and what are we doing. And we've done a great deal over the past few years to increase freshman and sophomore retention levels. All right. It's very important that we institutionally take care of the students. We do not lower our standards, but we figure out how to teach them and how to bring them from where they are to where we want them to be. So I think you're provost for 6 months. Feels like 120 years. Like, a lot. But one of the things I did, I've done a lot. I've changed a lot, actually. One of the things I did is, when I was the Dean of Arts and Science, that's one of my jobs that Chris, I've had a lot of jobs. So I was the Dean of Arts and Sciences, and I had a pre-test, a placement test for students coming in mathematics, because it's a scandal that we have such bad DFW rates. You know, a kid comes in here, first of all, these nitwits do not know what it means to be at a university. None of the kids we take in here, they all have scholarships, you know. I mean, it's kind of an amazing thing when you think about that many kids. They don't get in here unless they have the record that they at least get from the state scholarships. Think about that. This is really an elite group of South Carolina kids. The out-of-state kids don't have scholarships necessarily, some do, of course. But these are some of our best students, but they're failing some of these basic courses. And so I thought we had retained that national test that I said as Dean. Of course, I laughed, and probably somebody complained about it. The math department, this is confidential, right? Not gonna say. So the math department in their wisdom decided at some point, I'm gone, decided they would make up their own math test, have their own test because they felt they were good. Now, on your program, when those parents come screaming to me because we will not let Harry into calculus 2, even though he had calculus 1, because he failed the math department pretest. I don't have much of a leg to stand on with the homegrown test, but I do have a leg to stand on. If I have a nationally normed test in which a kid has 5 chances to redo the test, and actually the test is key to what you got wrong, you know, a young kid coming in, what you got wrong, and they can go to the test bank and there are modules set up to help them. All right. So one of the things you have is you say, I forgot that, or I had it years ago, or I had a bad day. My girlfriend left me. But basically, so the first thing I did out of this September, been in the job 6 months. I said, no, we have to have a nationally normed test. So we went out, we did the research, we bought the test, and the president is taking bets on how soon I'm going to buckle, you know, when the screaming starts. When you start screaming at me because you're a kid, they can get credit for that 3-credit course. It's just, I'm not letting them go into the next one until I can be sure that they're placed in the right place. This is better for the faculty, it's better for the students, it's better to retain your scholarship, and this is really important. And I'm working with the state on this and doing this. So part of what I try to do is, you know, because I've been here for so long, and because I have a clear idea of what some of the issues are that we have to face. You know, we're responsible for hiring faculty, trying to keep the budgets in line, trying to make sure that we're treating students well, that we're really concerned broadly about the student experience, the academic student experience, not just the football experience, right? Not just the SEC sports experience, but all those things that really count. So we're working on freshman, sophomore retention. We're working on 4-, 5-, and 6-year retention, and I'm holding the deans responsible for really thinking about that and really doing how are we planning our courses. And these are just the things you're supposed to do as a provost, right? This is your everyday kind of stuff. What are the future-oriented things? What are the things we've got to start thinking about? I think there's an inflection point for us. We can no longer depend on our reputation. We can no longer depend educationally on we're the great University of South Carolina. And I think, importantly, what that means is we've got to start really looking at our curriculum. And part of what that means is how are we going to line up our curriculum to co-curricular things, workforce development things, internship opportunities for students. We have to be responsible for helping them develop not just as citizens, very important, not just as critical readers and thinkers, but also as people who can be, gainfully employed. Because frankly, all of society, Republican, Democrat, everything are saying it's so expensive, and it is. It's so expensive going to college. What do we do, right? And what you'll be hearing about, and we haven't worked this out yet, but what you'll be hearing about is thinking about all the students that you hire, to help you with various things in your offices, all the jobs we have on campus for students. How can we professionalize this? How can we make that working with you, working with whomever are your supervisors? How can we help create that as an actual work experience? Donald Lyles in my shop runs the big data, he's the, whatever he is. He's the high-end data guy, does over whatever done yet. So his team is great. They get a smart kid and they make it a real position, and they try to deal with them, management supervisor. They try to give them a sense of what it's like to work in what we laughingly call the real world. So we're going to be working on this all year. We're looking around, seeing nationally and see how we do it. So kind of thinking about this relationship between what we're doing in the classroom, not just in business or engineering. I mean, all the programs really need to kind of take this seriously. So that's the first thing. The second thing is how do we use technology wisely? I mean, this is a big thing. We have particular strategic goals as a university, as an organization, how to use it wisely. I know it's been controversial. I know it's been problematic, but we have an obligation. And the third thing is, how do we prepare students for the world they're going to inhabit? That's our job as educators. That's our job in this organization. What are they going to face in the next decade or so? How can we prepare them? How can we best prepare them? And so this is the dreaded AI conversation. And but one of the things that I think is important, there is no one way to look at AI. There is no one way to think about it. We're going to have the environmental faculty developing courses about the terrible impact of this on climate and how are we thinking about it. We have the marketing faculty that are full tilt, full stop using it because that's what you do in marketing. You're pulling massive data, looking at it organizationally. The entire English faculty is going to burn down Osborne. Well, usually. Yeah, happens usually. But they're extremely stressed about what's going to be the writing and what do we do. A lot of the faculty are really up in arms. And, I taught for about a year and a half or so. I thought I was going to spend the rest of my career teaching. And I developed these new courses. Oh, I'm so proud. I developed these new courses. And, but everything I did a couple of years ago has to be redone. It doesn't work in this AI environment. Isn't that interesting? I really thought I spent a year thinking about it. We're doing all these courses and reading and making, but every assignment I designed, everything, I can't do it anymore. Okay, that's what it means in the classroom. And to stand in front of kids and say, you can't use GPT. Because, you have to really have, you're a computer science guy, you have to say, don't code that way. Because you have to learn to code. So as a sophomore, you can figure out whatever ChatGPT calls their coding program, all right? Whatever Claude calls it. You have to be able to look at that and see if it's any good, all right? And this is not an easy thing. This is not an easy, you have as many good ideas about this. I know there's this fear, it's going to replace our fault when you do these things. It's a tool. It's a tool, okay? And how are we going to use this tool? I'm buying something for the advisors that basically will free them up, the 4-year advising model where the kids have, hopefully this frees them up to spend more time talking to the students, not to replace them, but to use all of this technology so it's much faster and easier and more efficient to say next semester you take these for these reasons. So there can be more conversation rather than this endless transactional kind of stuff. That's what we're trying to do, to free people up to have those conversations. I think Michael's come here and he said to you, he believes that our key niche in higher education is our charm. That's one way to look at it, our face-to-face interaction with people, the fact, how we treat people. We hear this repeated. When we can get people to come to campus, they're sending their kids here to involve. You know, actually what we figure is the 12 to 15 hour drives. Yeah, and then go home the next day. But part of it is when they get here, the way they were treated, the way we treat them, the way we interact with them, the way our kids walk around campus. So this is our core value in some ways, and it's something we can't lose, actually. And so the concept is not an old replacement. It's let's get some of the drudgery out of our work and do it in a way that we're protecting our intellectual property, student, all of those things that we can deal with. So on top of the usual things that you think about as provost, and I've got a great team and I have all kinds of people. There are hundreds of people working within the provost structure. But I realized when I first started, we started to say, we didn't have any staff awards. We had all these faculty awards, but we didn't have any staff awards. And we said, and Shannon led the charge and we figured out how we could, then we realized you had developed all these staff awards. So we had to have staff awards that were different than your awards, and they're, it was more complicated than it should have been. But we're giving staff awards for people within our structure, and we did it in such a way so it didn't interfere with what you're doing. And all of our people can also be available for those staff awards. You know, some of the colleges do. So now I am told I should stop talking and I should take questions.
Look at me. Stop talking. We would appreciate it if any of you have a question for Dr. Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer questions. Have you yell at me about something? I'm used to it. I deal with faculty. Or never happy with anything. You know, yeah, you've been there. Okay, you've been there. Yeah, exactly. Really, no questions?
I have a state.
Derek.
My name is Brian Shelton. I'm from the Dartmouth School of Business.
Good.
I just want to say that I'm in the advising community, and I know a lot of us were very happy when you were named provost. So, you know, just because we know your background, we know you support advising. The other thing is thank you for talking to us and not at us. I feel like that's a little bit of a disconnect with some of just overall leadership on campus, regardless of positions and things like that. And I feel like you really tried to talk to us and not at us. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. I mean, one of the advantages of having you as provost for a while is, I think, okay, a dear friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, a woman I have thought highly of as a faculty member since the first day I got here, the nicest woman in the world. 20 years, I've never heard her say a bad thing about anybody. So in about November, and if you come up to me later, I'll give you her name. About November, I'm on the phone. And I said, how do you think it's playing in the community? And I became provost. You know, you're seeking reassurance from your dear friends with everything. And she said, oh, everybody's so happy. Everybody is so happy. Even the people who hate your guts. Because they say, well, at least she knows what she's doing. Think about that. I said, oh, I'm so glad. Like, well, yeah, but isn't that fun? So I think the devil, you know, I think what's going on is the devil, you know. And also the sense that I have always tried to work from first principles. I think about my decisions. I can be wrong, but you ask me, you question your decision, I'll tell you what I made. I'll tell you how I felt about it. And over time, I think that gives you credibility. Okay? And that's really how I've always tried to operate. So I've done 6 months. I was kind of surprised when I was doing come on, I've been provost for 6 months, really, I've changed that, we dumped that, and I canceled that contract. I've done all kinds of things. Also, the deans have agreed, everybody's agreed that, it's kind of funny, that we're wasting money on a lot of software. You know, this college has this, you all know that, this college has it. So they've agreed that we're gonna have like a committee that's going to decide, should we buy this? Should we go in this direction? Do you want it? Does this other college want to buy it? What do you think? And of course, they all thought it was a good idea until one of their pieces comes up. We're like, oh, no, remember, we signed this memo. So we're doing everything we can for efficient, and this is in all of our best interests. We've been, this is South Carolina, we did secede from the Union. We've been a little too non-federated here, a little too autonomous for the past decade, and it's killing us. I mean, we've got to really figure out how to work together. Okay, am I done? Any other questions? People say, I wasn't really thinking about my career continuing in quite the rate it has. I really was thinking about going back to teaching. But I think very highly of what we're trying to do. We're trying to take the university, what the team is trying to do. And I think we're in very good shape. But we're really in good shape because of the work you do every day. Every day. And I genuinely mean that. I really do mean that. So you're the face of the university. You know, faculty, come, go, ministry, whatever, but you're really the face of the university. So I thank you for everything.
Thank you, Dr. Patrick, and I can just tell you from my vantage point and role, it's been a pleasure working with you, and thank you for advocating for us. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our second speaker who was invited to come and speak with us. Just some senators had some questions, and I thank those senators who sent those questions to me, and I passed them on to Carolyn Agardy, our USC Vice President for Human Resources. And so I will have you come up and you can just hit the down button and your slides will be there.
Good afternoon, and thank y'all for inviting me. I know Chris sent me some questions in advance, and I appreciate that. So I want to cover them today with my talk and show you a few slides, and then I'll give you an opportunity to ask questions as well. But it really is a pleasure to be with y'all. I know that the market pay structure has been discussed before, and I'm here to help you understand even more about it. I told Chris, I said, I'd rather come once our managers are totally trained on this, understand it, because they're the ones that are going to be having the conversations with their employees, and they need to be able to explain to their employee everything that about the market structure. And it's a work in progress because we had not had a market structure until 2023. Yeah. I'm doing the over button. Okay. All right, so 2023 was when we first implemented a market structure. I told the group who was the staff senate at that time that one of the reasons we did that is because we had had our turnover rate go up so much during COVID. We had lost a lot of our excellent staff, and we had to compete with outside universities, outside employers within the state and in the region. And to do that, we had to know what others were paying in the marketplace in order to be competitive. In addition to that, as I talked to my colleagues in the SEC and other higher education institutions, most of them had gone to a market-based pay structure already by that date. Not only did we implement that pay structure, which wasn't exactly at the market level because we didn't have the funds to do that, but the state gave us a 5% increase at June, so it helped us be competitive more than we thought we were going to be. And then we had some compression raises because when we were able to go to the market-based structure, we only had funds to increase people to the minimum of the new pay ranges. And then in February of this year, we redid the market structure. I'll tell you a little bit about that. But we basically found out what the market was paying for these jobs again. And some people have asked us, is it based on titles? Is it based on when you compare other jobs, what is it based on? So it's based on a number of things, including the duties, responsibilities, qualifications. We also benchmark other higher education institutions across the U.S. With similar research classifications, student and workforce composition. We also looked at their financial profile. We have a core group we look at all the time that we had a consultant put together for us. And so those were the institutions primarily that we reviewed, along with the Southeastern Conference institutions, because constantly our Board of Trustees is asking us what the SEC is doing. We also received data from a broader labor market within South Carolina and the region, depending on what jobs they were. And then you might want to know why the structure changed. When you have a market-based structure, you have to keep it updated. The whole point of a market structure is if you are in a job, let's say you're in an accounting job, we've got to know what they're paying other accountants in the same labor market that we're competing for. So that, therefore, the structure has to be updated on a regular basis. This was 2 years after, but we also had something happen at the state level where they did away with, or they went to a market-based structure for state government, and then higher education had to get away from the 10-band pay structure that we had in place. So those are the really the reasons why the market structure had to change. But it's important that we align our structure so that we can compete for the talent that we have at the University of South Carolina and retain the excellent employees we have. Certainly the maintaining that framework where we're within the state structure had to happen as well, but those were the primary reasons for doing the new market-based pay structure. The structure also helps with career progression and flexibility. We had complaints that we went from 29 pay ranges to 25 pay ranges when we did the new market, and we had to fit them within the state pay structure. And so that's why we had to do fewer. But when we did that, we also gave the opportunity for employees to go to that next level and, you know, get to the highest level sooner if they progress all the way through those levels. But you're not required always to change roles. Sometimes you can have pay raises within that range that you're in and stay within that range and then move up in your particular area. I thought it would be great to show you an example of one, and this is a student services program coordinator, kind of like Provost Fitzpatrick. I think I sent this before. I checked it yesterday, and I didn't have the title on there, but it is a student services program coordinator. I don't know if you can see this very clearly, but you can, at the PO level, which is one of our job levels, professional level, you can see the minimum went up from what it was prior, 37,735 to 56,602 to a range of 40,269 to 58,390. So if you can see this level P0, P1, P2, and P3, you can tell those went up. Now that didn't happen in every case. This was just one that I thought would be good to show, because it does show that career progression that someone can have if they're in the enrollment management area in a student services program coordinator. As I said, recruiting and retention are critical concerns, but also having a pay philosophy that we are ensuring that people know why we're paying what we're paying, that we try to be competitive with the market. We try to be as equitable as possible in looking at people's salary and those compensable factors that cause us to give them that particular salary. And then we also make sure we look at compression. And if there are reasons to give increases, whether it be additional duties, knowledge, skills, and abilities, or because there is a compression going on in an area, we work with the departments to do that. Of course, the departments have to fund that. And I think the president, who was here last month, talked about there are funds in some areas that are more rich than in other areas. And so we do have to consider that, but we at least know what the market is and what people should be making in terms of the market. I hope I've answered some of the questions you've had on why we did it, but I thought it might be good now to just answer any questions you have, or you know, if you have any comments to make about the process that we went through.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Senator Tuck.
Yeah.
A question that has been brought up to us a lot kind of refers to the retention aspect of it. Where we're seeing with our people who are affected, there were people who were brought up to the midpoint, and then their band was shifted lower, or their market band was shifted lower. And so now, since they were brought up to that midpoint, they're closer to the top end. And so those people are viewing this more as a punitive measure. And so having to explain and say, no, this is not punitive, you haven't done anything wrong, your band has just, you know, shifted. The question that we get is, what is it career advancement going to look like? Because you have people who are going to max out if they thought that they were going to reach the top of their band in 9 years, it might be 4 years. So what is the process going to look like for the actual departments to be able to internally promote? Is it going to be based on the additional job duties, or is it going to be based on, so like if you have someone who would formally get a pay for performance, now they're going to be at the top of that band, they won't be able to do that. We're trying to figure out internally how we're going to incentivize people staying and keeping our internal knowledge, as opposed to having our staff members try to go to a different college that might be more affluent.
That's a good question. I would say from the beginning, you said that people were brought up to the midpoint. We didn't bring anybody up to the midpoint with this new pay range. We brought people up to the minimum. So they will have a 45% up to a 65% spread from that midpoint, which is viewed as the market level. But what we did when we looked at the ranges is we put the range around the market for that job. So while you look at the data and you say, this is what people who are out there are making, it may be that our people are below the market, or to your point, it may be somebody is at the midpoint. So how they progress is either moving to that next level within their area and doing more things. It could be additional duties and responsibilities, but it could be the job grows itself. As Provost Fitzpatrick talked about AI, but you think about AI being a tool. We're hoping that frees up a lot of the manual work that staff is performing in some cases, and it's more thinking work. It's different kind of work. And so what we want to do is ensure, just like I showed you the enrollment management job, that you can see those levels. And it might be just experience, that somebody comes in at that entry level because they don't have experience in that area. Scott Rosal had told us they're hiring people straight out of the university to go into enrollment management jobs in their first job. And then we move them up as they perform in that job. And then what we are also embarking on is a 3-year talent strategy, so that we will have this very transparent, so that every employee will know how they can progress. And sometimes it's not just within their own area. To your point, it may be, I'm in admissions now, but I really am fascinated by financial aid if I'm in enrollment management, because I like management here, I like what is happening in there, and I like the innovation there. And so I might want to stay within my division or my units, but there might be some career paths. And our new talent structure will help people see that. So it really is an opportunity as we look at, there are 1,500 different market titles. In the state system, there are only 300, and I can't call the number exactly, but let's say 350 classifications within the state. So we have 1,500 ways that people can go to different jobs, move up within the same job. And as I showed you, the P1 through 4, we also have management at 0 going up to 4. And so there are many opportunities to increase. And sometimes it is the expertise and the knowledge and not necessarily the job change, the ability changes within that job. Does that help? Okay. Yes.
I'm Anthony Brown, Division of IT. So I also have a similar question. We have people on the other side of the spectrum where they're no longer in the 90% midpoint, the range has gone up. So are we giving up on that 90% of the midpoint to be competitive at this point? Or are we going to get back to that at some point? We're trying to get back to that mark?
No, when we first implemented it, it was the dollars that kept us at 90% of the midpoint. And then because the state moved did a 5% raise that year, Anthony, we were able to increase the midpoint by 5%. So in essence, within 6 months, we were at 95% of the midpoint. And then with our new structure that we just did, we surveyed the data in the fall and we went straight to the midpoint with this new market range. Now, not every range goes up. It is possible that when somebody looks at their range, because we changed the width of the range, it went down a little bit, but we had to position our jobs with the market, and we couldn't just say, just because it was a little bit higher, we have to keep it higher. We are now a market-based pay structure, but the midpoints are what we saw in the market. And I say that give or take a little bit because we had to come up with only 25, if that makes sense. Okay. Yes.
Parliamentarian McCormick. Could you go back to the screen where we had the career ladder? So let's say I am in one of the lower job levels, and I have had conversations with my supervisor and believe that I'm ready to move up to a job level or move up a job level. How do you recommend or suggest that an employee would approach that conversation with their supervisor? And if there's funding available, how do you suggest an employee would approach that conversation?
Okay. And that was a key point, if there's funding available, because we have been working in this case with enrollment management and to get more funding because they are one of the lower paid areas because of the funding. And we're hopefully things will be looking better in that area. We've had numerous conversations on that. Still having conversations. But I think to approach the supervisor is to talk about what you've contributed, but also what your enthusiasm for the job, the kinds of things you would like to do as in terms of developing, serving. I mean, depending on your job, you want to speak to what you do well in your job and how it's helped or impacted the organization. And then just say, in order for me to stay in this job and love this job, I really need to see a career progression for me in this job. And, it may be that they flat out say, gosh, we are just strapped with money. We don't see that in the future and whatnot, but at least they're being honest with you and can tell you that. But they may actually say, well, here's some areas I think you need to work on. And when you do this is the time frame that I think I can give you an increase. And so and that's why we want to do the training very soon with our managers and supervisors so that they understand this well enough to be able to have those conversations. But I think what happens sometimes is the budget is held real tight at a certain level. And so the supervisors maybe they don't even know what is available to them. And so we need to be more transparent about all of our processes so that they can actually understand. I know years ago, there was a division that would constantly, look at their people at certain times of the year. There are certain areas that do that still to this day. And that gives their employees an opportunity to know, okay, I might not get one this year, but every fall, this area is at least looking at us and seeing where we ought to be and how we ought to move up in these ranges.
I just think it is important for us to also educate and train our employees as well. Because you continue.
That's the next step, but we've got to train the supervisors. If we start training all employees and we haven't trained the supervisors. And last time we did not because we were such behind the 8 ball when it came to the phases we did and rolling out. And we had lost 50% of our staff to
Well, we
not
should
able to do it.
for career ladders,
Yes.
but it's sort of like, what does that mean and how does that help us and impact us?
And that's where we're just starting with that. Even though we have them built in here, what we're doing now is identifying the competencies that go with a lot of this. So again, we can build some information within our new system that we will have probably within, if I had to guess, 3 years, we'll have a new ERP at the university that will be more modern, have a lot of AI built in. That's our goal to get to. They keep saying 3 to 5 years, and every time I go to a meeting, they keep saying now it's 3 years. So I think within that amount of time, we'll have a place to store all this, that we'll have a talent management system that you can really plug in and say, what areas could I go in? Because sometimes you make a lateral move to make a giant leap later. Anthony, you had a
Yes, sorry, I
follow-up.
have a question in Division of IT.
Yeah.
Did I say that in time? Anyway, I
Anthony
guess-
Brown, the star.
What I want to know is, I guess, when is that timeline set up for our training to be done for our managers? Because I know a lot of the frustrations from my constituents has been the lack of their understanding of the new role that all this new change that is occurring, and they don't seem to be able to explain anything to us. So I was just looking to see if there was like a timeline you guys have projected that you guys are going to be implementing this training for them.
Yeah, we had trained the HR contacts so far, and the training for managers, I have asked our compensation director to have that ready before I leave in May, because I have to see this. I mean, last time I thought our training group could actually do it, and we just didn't have the capacity, and our comp people were still just giving the raises and moving things forward. So it's really making that space, but by doing that, Anthony, we're going to free up a whole lot more because more people understand it. So I think my team finally gets it, and I'm not going to stop until we can get that trained. But I would say by mid to end of April, everybody ought to be either have it scheduled or set up to be scheduled by that time. So,
Can we have time for, you have a
yes.
question over
That
here?
is actually my question.
Okay.
Senator Richards from College of Victoria Sound, there's a lot of frustration about the understanding and people being able to convey that information. And so I was just gonna ask, if I had a constituent say, I'm so confused, I don't know anything about this information I've, gotten, what would be the best thing for me to convey to them?
It should be that they go and talk with John Sun in your area about their pay and try to understand it from the HR person, since we don't have the supervisors trained yet. But I also think that many times you've got to look at data when you're talking to the employee. You've got to look at the range that they're in, and we've got to make sure supervisors actually understand how to do that. And with supervisors, it's going to be a different kind of training that we've given the HR people, but it truly is. I mean, I had a person who complained to me a couple of Fridays ago, and I was like, oh, I was already gotten to my out of town destination that weekend, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need her to not worry right now, because while she's looking at it as a demotion, in our structure, it's not a demotion. Her pay range actually went up. She was able to get a pay increase because it was already in the queue, but she was worried that she had a demotion and what might happen to her. And again, I had to look in systems in order to make sure I could explain it to her. You just can't explain it when you can't see the data.
No, I think this is probably the clearest to me that this has been, and I think it's easier to communicate now that we know that HR has been trained, supervisors, and then our managers for companies will be trained.
Yeah.
So I think that's an easier thing to communicate.
Well, and then we're going to build it into our lead program that we have for supervisors. So after we go out and train everybody who's a supervisor now, it's going to be embedded in the lead program so that any new supervisor automatically gets it as part of that training that we do for a supervisor.
And I will mention for transparency that when Vice President Agardy and I talked about her coming, she said, we're not quite there yet, and asked her if she could come and just at least give us the full picture of where we're going so that we can tell our constituents that as well, which I really appreciate. You can see that parts are still forthcoming. And when we've got two more quick questions, and then we've got to move on. Senator Luther, you go first, and then we'll get right behind you.
Given that
And Senator Luther, would you tell her where you're from, please, sir?
pay for performance is not always a guaranteed thing, how does HR treat compression as a result of no like annual or biannual evaluation of market conditions due to fiscal constraints? Is it just like, this is the situation, if you want something higher, you're gonna have to look around for another opportunity? Or is there going to be some sort of policy for them to evaluate performance and movement through the band, or else, you're just stuck with whatever the legislative increase, your position never changes within the actual band or the structure.
Yeah. What I see across the university is each area has their own way to give pay increases, if they're giving them at all. And a lot of them are giving them at all. They, again, I don't want to name names because probably not good, but there are plenty of units within the organization who then decide what their strategy is for rewarding. Are they trying to keep their very best cream of the crop employees so they don't leave? Are they trying to keep those steady eddies that just are there, show up all day and do a good job, but maybe aren't the innovative ones? I mean, again, it just depends on their strategy for their workforce. We are implementing a business partner model that will help leaders and help managers do exactly what you said, that nobody gets really left behind with that we can look at the employee workforce, look at things like turnover rate, look at where they're going when they leave, and what their pay history has been. Because if they've not gotten increases, but then they're still there, and you would be in dire straits if you lose them, you need a strategy for making sure they get pay increases. I know I worked in an organization before that the area had a plan that every 3 years somebody would get not a legislative pay increase, but a true pay increase. And their employees counted on that. And it was a decent pay increase. I mean, it might have been 4 or 5%, but they were able to move up in the organization. And that's what we need. I keep thinking we will need what we call a merit-based pay structure at some point. We don't have that now. I know the General Assembly right now has, within the Appropriations Act, a proposal to give state employees a 2% across the board increase. We didn't know if it would come out as a merit increase this year or a legislative GI, like it's been for the last several years increase. But today I did find out that they have it in there for a general increase. And then the problem with that is, somebody may be even beyond the range, because we never take that person down when we do these market adjustments. Some people are above their maximum, but you could say they're more, we're paying them more than we have to be competitive. But maybe if we had some flexibility and decided to have a merit pool, we could say those people might get a very small increase, and then people who are contributing in that lower level and not even at the market should get those to the market range. And so we've got to have a strategy around this. How it's worked at the university, because of our budget model, is HR doesn't decide. It's your unit that decides how you're going to give the pay increases, and they do it based on various methodologies. And some of them work very well in terms of getting their folks where they need to, and others, they don't do it exactly how I would do it if I'm trying to keep my employees. So that's not a great answer, but it's, again, as transparent as I can be about how it's done. But I've talked to some leaders across the campus of having a compensation advisory committee so we can come back and recommend this. I've talked about this merit pool before, but I do think that's what I see in other higher education institutions, having a pool of money. I know in the past, MUSC has had it for their employees, and so has Clemson. It's not a huge pool. I mean, many times they are only getting 2% raises, the ones that get money. Last year, I know MUSC gave bonuses because they didn't have the money. But again, it's something that we need to consider now that we know what the market data is, and we've only known this since 2023.
There was one more quick question and then
I think you might have answered the last answer, but when the incoming, when they had here 1 year or 3 years, got their increase based on market value. The managers did not receive anything, so there was a market increase and then there was 3% that was from the state. But then, I'm sorry, Senator Stovall. But then, so you're
I didn't, when you said the managers didn't get an increase.
right, the same level of increase. So it was like the standard 3% from the state, but then not that, it was whispers that the management would also get a competitive increase, and that did not happen. So is that something that HR is talking about at this time?
I have not heard anything about managers getting a competitive increase. When we get the state raise, again, it's applied uniformly when it's a GI. If they decided to do a merit increase this year, which was on the table, a market increase was on the table as an option, but they have decided to go with the general increase again, which gives everybody the same amount. If we were to look at, a pool of money that we could give merit increases, we probably could get those people who are below paying what we should pay them, and those that are at the top not giving as much. But right now, I don't want to say it's the wild, wild west, but it's certainly in the units that make those decisions. So.
I encourage anyone who has additional questions or constituents who have questions. One thing that Vice President Agardy has been phenomenal with is joining us for our Staff Policy and Wellbeing Committee meetings. And so you can funnel those questions to Senator Chambers or Hulett, who are the co-chairs, or let me know. And we can bring those to that meeting as well to help further clarify. But that's where we're also hopefully going to learn more about the trainings that are forthcoming and what is happening with our HR as it relates to this. So thank you, Vice President Agardy. We really appreciate it. And while she takes her seat before she leaves, because you can't leave yet, I wanted to take a moment, since Vice President Agardy is with us and probably will not be back again pending her retirement. It's hard to articulate just how much of a collaborative spirit Vice President Agardy has and how she has helped our organization move forward. And I thought one of the best ways to tout that is for you to hear from the Staff Senate presidents of the past, who have each sent to me just a little bit about working with Caroline Agardy. Shelley Dempsey, during my tenure as the inaugural president of Staff Senate, the body was still establishing its role, processes, and voice within the university. As vice president for HR, Caroline Agardy was part of the early conversations that helped situate Staff Senate within the broader institutional landscape, particularly around staff policies and compensation-related discussions. Those early years required persistence and clarity about Staff Senate's purpose, and they laid important groundwork for the body's continued development and visibility. Dr. Rashonda James said, during my tenure as Staff Senate president from 22 to 23, VP Agardy was supported in many ways. One example was our inaugural Staff Senate Award program. She personally met with me to outline the process for awarding funds to staff and did not hesitate to assist with questions I had. I appreciate her consummate professional she has always been, and I truly wish her a beautiful and restful next chapter. Thank you for your kindness. Tyson Luss. Caroline was a true champion of the staff at the University of South Carolina Staff Senate at every turn and on every issue. Caroline was strategic and supportive in trying to make USC the best place it could possibly be. Her support to me as president and to the Staff Senate cannot be overstated. We worked collectively together to advocate for the staff at USC and proved real dividends and made this a better place to work. Caroline's commitment to this place is really unmatched. It's an honor to work with her on such important issues. And then Megan Castellone. Caroline has been one of the strongest advocates and partners for Staff Senate and for the staff experience at USC. Her collaborative, transparent approach created a foundation of respect and trust as the Staff Senate established its roots and continues to grow. Two things have always been true. Caroline is deeply passionate about Carolina, and she's equally passionate about elevating the employee experience. We're sad to see her go, but we know she's going to love all that retirement has to offer. And then my sentiments. In Celtic tradition, trees are enduring symbols of wisdom, strength, and deep connection, with their branches reaching outward and upward, while their roots grow strong and steady beneath the surface. When you see this gift, Caroline, I hope you were reminded of the roots you so thoughtfully and intentionally planted for the USC Staff Senate. Your vision, leadership, and steady guidance since the USC Staff Senate's inception assisted in creating a foundation strong enough to support growth, resilience, and community. Because of you and others like you, what began as an idea has flourished into a vibrant organization now entering its 5th year, with branches that continue to expand and serve staff across our university. Like the Celtic tree, your influence is both grounding and far-reaching. The roots you helped establish will continue and nourish and sustain the Staff Senate for years to come, providing strength, wisdom, and stability for those who follow. It is with deep gratitude for the legacy you leave and the growth you make possible we honor you today. Thank you.
I told my boss, I said, I don't want anything when I leave. I just want to leave quietly.
Thank you so much.
I'm around until May 15th. They just,
Be talking to her.
so after the 14th, the appreciation day just for y'all.
Thank you so much. And I can tell you what you saw today is her transparency, her candor, and many times in meetings, she would say, I'm just going to tell you what I think. And, even if it's not, what others may be saying. So she was a gift and we will miss her. We now have updates from our committees. We'll start first with membership. No, but I'll have it in follow-up. Yes.
Good afternoon. In the coming weeks, you'll get some communication about the upcoming elections for any open Senate seats. We'll have a timeline that'll be sent out in the recap for today's meeting, and some information about what seats will be opening. We have about 13 open seats that will be on this ballot. But nominations, there'll be a nomination form, so you can nominate a colleague or someone, the administrator within your department can nominate someone. That will open on March 23rd. And then applications will open a little bit later than that. So throughout the month of April, we'll have elections going on. So again, you'll get some more information in the meeting recap today. But if you guys have any questions about the election, yes, Senator Miles.
Quick question, are we able to nominate more than one person, or is it just one?
Yes, you could nominate more than one person. Good question. Any more questions about the election? Like I said, there's a lot more information to come, but I just wanted to give you guys a heads up that will be coming on pipe. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. The recap that you'll get hopefully tomorrow from me will have not only the dates for all of that, but also those seats that will be open based on the new reapportionment or individuals who may be rolling off. Awesome. Communications.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just a couple of quick things we wanted to mention this month. One is that we're still working with, continue to work with the Staff Appreciation Day Committee about communications for that. Over the next month or so, you'll see stuff start to roll out. Some mentions around campus about the event, things like emails, digital displays, and flyers. Some of that's working on waiting on some timing. For instance, the form can't go out until we have the food options together and some things like that. But you'll see a lot of that over the next month or so. The second thing we just wanted to mention is we met with the executive committee last week about changing the copy about our committee in the bylaws just a little bit, just to kind of update it. And that seemed to go well. So we passed that on to the bylaws committee. And so in the next month or two, we'll probably have a vote on changing the copy about our committee a little bit. But it's kind of minor stuff that I think just updates it nicely. So any questions or anything? That's it.
Awesome. Thank you. Staff policy and well-being.
All right, hey, everybody. So we actually got to meet with Michelle McGraw, who is, correct me if I'm wrong, she's a director within the infrastructure of Bright Horizons. In our discussion with her, she did provide us some materials that we have sent. See if we can get that sent out to everybody. First is a webinar schedule. They have various items such as raising a compassionate child, healthy screen time for young adults. They also talk about asking a college expert, boosting your college savings, maximizing financial aid, as well as there's a little PowerPoint that kind of explains what Bright Horizons is. We've been able to understand that they've been in discussions with HR about the best ways to get their name out there. It's a little hard, especially tapping on, those who have children, those who don't or do not want children, kind of being compassionate on either side. So that's kind of our next step is what is going to be the best way to get Bright Horizons information out instead of just, let's send this information on a listserv and hope people open their email. Also, a great example of working with Bright Horizons and their extra resources besides, preschool, daycare, they have resources such as emergency childcare. If my son got sick tomorrow and I had nobody else to help watch my child, they have resources that, hey, could I bring my child in for one day? As well as discounts for graduate students that have children. Georgia Tech has implemented this. They've worked with Bright Horizons. So we're going to look at that example and see what is going to be the best way for our university to implement some of those items, as well as dependent and adult care. Because not everybody has young children, but I know for myself, having older parents, how am I going to be able to take care of them? So once we get more information, we will make sure to pass that along to everybody.
Another thing that President Burkett started to bring up, Senator Brown in our committee brought this to our attention during our last meeting, was about AED access on campus. So that's a big initiative that we're gonna start taking on. So it's kind of in its infancy right now. But we are partnering with Connor Shaw, who is former quarterback here. And if you have heard about this in recent news, this past year, he had an incident of cardiac arrest and his life was saved from swift action with an AED. So really, really important for both, the community on campus, students, as well as faculty and staff with life-saving measures. So working on expanding trainings across campus to staff and faculty, as well as just access to AEDs. So we'll keep you guys posted on that, but that's going to be kind of a larger scale project.
And I just want to give a big round of applause for Anthony because this conversation is needed to happen in the details he gave to us. So thank you for bringing that to the committee. So.
And then we're meeting again on the 24th, if anybody would like to join us. Any questions?
All right.
Awesome. Thank you. PD committee.
Hey y'all, good afternoon. So we don't have too much for you today. We appreciate everyone who did fill out those surveys that we sent out. Some of your names were missing. I cried a tear or two, but it's okay. What we really found was that there's kind of a wide range of PD opportunities on campus, with most folks not even knowing about what they have in their own areas. So we're going to use that information and kind of take next steps going forward. But just wanted to give you a shout out, thank you for that. We also met with the Division of Information Technologies AI educators last week. We learned more about their AI Champion Initiative. We learned more about the AI Day. And so I actually have a shout out to them a little bit later. But soon enough, we're going to work on making a training series with them for all of our staff members to just kind of get the AI basics. What is AI? What are the limitations of AI? And why AI will not be replacing them in their position. So if you would like to be a part of that conversation, please join us for our PD committee meeting over the next couple. We're going to try to make that happen. So our PD spotlight for today is going to be an AI learning opportunity, specifically the Garnet AI Foundry webpage. has a lots of different resources for you guys to learn about AI topics that may be related to you, to students, to your work, whatever the case may be. Specifically, there's also the Garnet AI Fluency 101 course that was just recently released. Before you had to have an account with ChatGPT, but now you don't have to do that. You can self-enroll in Blackboard, so that is available if you are interested in that. Additionally, I got a flyer from the Office of Professional Development. Administrative Professionals Conference is coming up on April 24th. It's really geared towards administrative roles, folks who are doing office kind of stuff. That is going to be a flyer available here at the front if you're interested. Again, that's April 24th. And then lastly, that was it. Any questions?
Senator Ashford, I just wanted to add to the administrative conference, even though it says for administrative professionals, I attended it last year. It does a good job of not just generalizing administrative professionals. The theme last year was talking about generations and working in the workspace. So it's about everyone in the field of professionalism, not just administrators. It just gave really good insight on how different generations are working together in these different spaces in higher ed, and just understanding where each other is coming from our different perspectives that we bring into our spaces. So I assume it'll be just as good this year.
Perfect, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. Great point. Next would be community projects, and both of our chairs for community. Oh, were you going to speak for? Community projects both had sickness and sent a email recap just that the Heartwalk team, which we've already mentioned, please consider joining them. And thank you for the Spice Drive. That was a huge success that we had last time. And they're working on some volunteer opportunities for the spring based on Senator survey results. More information is coming. And then just to remind everybody about the big Give for Garnet push. No amount is too small, and you can designate that to Staff Senate, which will come to us if one chooses. And for every $75 donation, you get Cocky blocks that are going to be a caboose that you can put in your office. Did I leave anything else? Good. Thank you so much. Sorry about that, the email, and I was like, well, go on. Bylaws Committee.
Hello, everyone. So we have amendment requests in queue, specifically about committees and their descriptions. So that's great. Also, amendment requests about how bylaw amendments work. That's in queue. There's going to be some business soon. I love when it's voting time, right? So I want to thank the membership committee because we worked on collaborating to host nominee information sessions. So that'll be more information about that in April. To just try to give a standardized approach of what it's like to be a senator before people accept nominations or move on into election season. So excited about that. Thanks to the communications committee because we discovered Parliamentarian was not on the website in the description, as well as when we did the deep dive of committee descriptions, the staff appreciation and recognitions committee description was not accurate. So there was a bylaw amendment in 2025 that did have updates to based on, things that needed to be removed about awards and et cetera. So that should be updated now on the website. And just thanks to communication for collaboration and quick discussions about some updates to the website and also some of the announcements that we're trying to push out, hopefully to staff about the upcoming information sessions. And our next committee meeting is this Thursday, 2 p.m. on Teams.
Awesome, thank you. Speaking of appreciation and recognition.
So we are 65 days away from Staff Appreciation Day.
Excited?
65 days away. I don't know how many minutes or seconds or hours, but it's getting. The first menu option that we got back was 59,000. We have a budget of 40. So obviously that wasn't going to work. So we've seen many iterations of the menu since then. We have one that is still pending committee final decision, but I think we're close. We're down to the 31,000 range. corn dogs, nacho bar, a lot of fun stuff. So we're really looking forward to being able to unveil the menu very, very soon. We have secured DJ Zapola back again this year. So DJ Zapola will be returning after a very successful last 2 years. I think he's been with the Staff Appreciation Day. We will be doing the design contest, but it will not be something, we won't do anything with it until either right before or the day of. We'll announce the winners. So we still have some time to work with that. We're working with the Communications Committee, as Senator Harman was saying. So we are going to be getting some stuff out there. And the volunteers, I know that we reached out to volunteers. We have like 19. We're going to be contacting y'all very soon. So don't think we forgot about y'all. It's just we've been trying to finalize some of these other details. So we'll be reaching out within the next couple of weeks to get some feedback, see if y'all want to help us with some more planning. That's about all, but it's coming together. Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
And again, the plan is to work with the Appreciation and Recognition Committee to have more details about the Staff Appreciation Day and everything and all the work that they've done behind the scenes for us at our next meeting. And again, May 14th. Scholarship and fundraising.
All probably hopefully got flyers. We're doing a book drive. It starts Thursday. There will be bins in various buildings throughout campus for you to donate books. At the end of the book drive, we will host a book sale on Green Street as part of the weekly farmers market, spring farmers market. It will be a pay what you want sale. So it will be very donation based. Payments will be made through the website as a official donation to the Ed Foundation. So tax deductible. Some really expensive books, come on. But yeah, so we've already gotten 3 bags of books. So we got a good start. We haven't even started the drive yet. So please donate and come out to the sale. There will be more information coming later, but in May we are hosting, or we aren't hosting it, Chipotle's hosting it, a percent night. So it will be a percentage of all sales at the Chipotle and the Vista will come back to Staff Senate. So more information about that closer to that date. In the meantime, keep an eye out for the bins and bring your books, clean out your closets.
Thank you. In essence of time, because we have one more important thing I want to make sure that we cover before we adjourn our meeting. There is one bylaw that was submitted to amend how we amend bylaws. And I'm going to ask Parliamentarian McCormick to send this out via email, which will count as our first read, so then we can discuss it and vote next time. This really just changes a few words, but the process which we've sort of been following, where it goes through the bylaws committee first before it comes to exec. So this will be coming out to everyone. The last order of business is a Staff Senate strategic listening survey. I know we tend to be surveyed a great deal, but after the president came, I've heard from a lot of senators and wanted an opportunity for us to really look at our purpose and impact, strengthening two-way communication between us and our campus units, highlighting practices that positively impact staff experience, identify realistic and actionable improvements, and inform data-driven advocacy, and continue to empower and amplify staff voices. What I'm going to ask you to do, and there'll be a QR code in just a moment, but also I'll send the link out, is this is staff senators only to complete, not your constituents. And what I'd like to do is get information from this survey back from you all for discussion at our April meeting. As you noticed, we're going to have the committee present, but then we'll have more time to do this, that we can even go into executive session and have it moderated by our wonderful ombudsperson, if need be. But what I'd like to know from the questions is what practices or initiatives in your unit most contribute to a positive staff experience, and how have you seen them influence morale, engagement, and connection? What have you learned about your staff community through serving as a senator, and what do you wish university leadership better understood about their needs and experiences? What forms of support, clarity, or communication from staff, Senate, or campus leadership would strengthen your ability to represent and advocate for your constituents? What is one realistic high-impact improvement that would enhance day-to-day staff life in your unit? What barriers currently prevent that? And reflecting on your role this year, what when have you felt most effective as staff senator? And when have you felt most limited or unsure in your ability? And so again, I'll send this out with a link. There's also a QR code there, only asking staff senators to complete this, which will give us some really, really good information back about your role, how you perceive that role, and inform moving forward. Cami and the new executive committee can use this too as they begin to look at the 26-27 staff senate iteration too, about, again, taking us 5 years in, making us even better as we move along. Any questions about that? Strategic listening? All right, could we get the order? Any announcements? Anybody? All right, is there a motion to adjourn? Senator Brown, first hand. Is there a second? All right. Senator Love, thank you. We all in favor? We adjourn. Thank you so much for all you do. Enjoy the pollen.